So this one is for all you Padre Pio fans out there.
Today we're sharing our latest great Catholic book find, this book, The Soldier and the Saint. We're going to be talking all about it, so let's get started.
Okay, so just know that this is a fascinating book. It's Padre Pio up close and personal as seen through the eyes of an American GI who visited with him over 40 times while he was stationed in Italy during World War II.
So Joe Peluso was a native of Pennsylvania, and a knee injury in the war took him to a hospital in Bari, Italy, where he started to hear from the other soldiers about this Catholic priest out there somewhere who had the 5 wounds of Christ, the stigmata.
So that was very interesting to Joe, and at the same time he received a letter from his mother back home, and she said, "Joe, there's this amazing priest out there named Padre Pio somewhere in Italy. You should really find him and go visit with him." So Joe's reading this in the hospital bed and he's thinking, "Oh, thanks Mom, somewhere in Italy. That really narrows it down. Plus there is a war on, there is that."
But it still planted the seed of curiosity. And so by the time he rejoined his group in Foggia, Italy, don't know if we're saying that right, he decided that it was finally time to track down this priest.
So Joe went to the headquarters on base to talk to the military chaplain, and he said, "Look, Father, I have a really hard question for you. I'm trying to find a priest named Padre Pio. Any idea where he is?"
And the chaplain, Father Junk, just looked at him and laughed. He was like, "I thought you actually had a hard question for me, Joe. You're going to be very surprised. Turn around and look behind you."
So when he did, he saw a big mountain in the not too far distance, and the chaplain told him, "Well, Joe, there you go. Up there is San Giovanni Rotondo. That's where you'll find your priest."
So that was a moment that changed Joe's life forever. And between October of 1944 and July of 1945, Joe visited Padre Pio 45 different times. And luckily for us, he kept notes and memoirs of each of his visits.
He also took pictures of the town, of Padre Pio, even movies of Padre Pio saying Mass. And then when he got home after the war, he went all over Western Pennsylvania to different churches and parishes, and he would tell people about Padre Pio and share all his experiences.
And Joe passed away in 1996, but his son-in-law, Thomas Konvolinka, found a 4-inch binder with all of his notes in it while cleaning out the Peluso home, and he turned that into this book.
And thank goodness he did, because Joe's memoirs could have easily been lost to history, and that truly would have been tragic. So when Mr. Konvolinka reached out to us, he said, "Hey, I've got this book about Padre Pio. Would you like to read it?" And we said, "Sure, why not? Anything Padre Pio works for us." But at that time, we had no idea what a delight this book truly is.
So there are lots of things that we love about this book, but the first one would probably be that this is just a book written by an ordinary guy who happened to have the chance to spend a lot of time with Padre Pio.
A lot of time. So this book was not written by a priest or some historian or a professional biographer. This book was written by Joe. So we really appreciated how Joe tells it like it really happened. He witnessed a lot of miraculous things with Padre Pio, and you can almost feel him like struggling to make sense of it all on paper.
We also love how this book was really a group effort in Joe's family. Of course, Joe wrote down most of it, but the book starts with a biography of Padre Pio that was written by Joe's granddaughter, Lynn Hines, back when she was in high school in 1988. And most of the information from that report comes from Joe, and he got that information from Padre Pio's family and from Padre Pio himself.
So talk about primary sources. You can't get any more primary than that. Also, the beautiful picture of Padre Pio on the front was painted by Joe's wife, Rita. And as we mentioned earlier, it was Joe's son-in-law, Thomas Konvolinka, who put the whole book together. So this was really an effort of their entire family. It was truly a labor of love.
Another thing we really appreciated is how Joe understood that he was having a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and he frequently mentions just how grateful he is for that. And this is how he described one of his meetings with Padre Pio. "We entered the sacristy. I knelt, kissed his hands, and he pulled my head to his body. patted me and gave me a heavenly smile. He sure is wonderful. The Count said to me, Padre shoos everyone away and calls you lucky boy. Boy, I am lucky, for I am not worthy to be near this saintly priest.
So in the book, Joe writes how Padre Pio called him our Joseph or dear Joseph, and Joe calls Padre Pio our dear Padre. So you can tell that they truly had a special bond.
So number 3, as you can imagine, Joe experienced many miraculous moments with Padre Pio, both while they were together in Italy and then even later on when Joe went back home to the US. So we don't want to give away too many spoilers, but one of our favorite miracles was how the two communicated with each other.
Okay, so Joe pretty much spoke no Italian and Padre Pio pretty much spoke no English, but still there were times when they could communicate with each other perfectly, and that was through Padre Pio's gift of tongues through the assistance of his guardian angel.
Joe said, he spoke to me in perfect English in the dialect of my Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area, and I understood every word he spoke.
Okay, I think we're up to number 4 now. The 4th thing we really loved about this book is how you can tell from reading it how much their faith meant to ordinary people of the time. A lot of people in the book, they just go to daily mass every day because why not? That's just what you do.
And Joe was no exception. He took every opportunity to go to Mass with Padre Pio. And that took a lot of effort on his part because it was a long 1.5-hour trek up the mountain to get to San Giovanni Rotondo. And he didn't have a car, so he would have to hitchhike with people in all kinds of weather and all kinds of day and night.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, there's one part in the book where Joe is driving back down the mountain to base and there's been a big ice storm. So he's hitchhiking on these icy roads, right? And there is no guardrail. So it was a very intense drive for Joe down the mountain, but his diligence really paid off. He met not only Padre Pio, but also a lot of Padre Pio's family, including his father, and his older brother, Michel. And then Michel and Joseph became very, very close friends.
So it was cool getting to know all of Padre Pio's family. Joe even went to the wedding of Padre Pio's niece, Pia, and her husband, Mario. So all of these people, including Padre Agostino, the Capuchin superior, became Joe's lifelong friends.
Joe was even invited several times to have dinner inside the monastery at the priory, and that was an unheard of privilege. And he even got to sit right next to Padre Pio, who, according to Joe, ate next to nothing. So this is how it would work. Joe would sit down next to Padre Pio. Padre Pio would take 2 bites of his food and then say, "Oh, Joe, you're a big, growing, strong man. You need this food." And he would give all of his food to Joe.
So number 5 is that Padre Pio had a lot of spiritual gifts, and he would often know things that were going to happen before they actually did. So that was another fun part of this book, when people would come to Padre Pio and say, "I'm going here or there, or I'm going to get shipped out to this battlefront." He would be like, "Well, no, you're actually not."
Oh my gosh, that was so much fun. Joe really manages to capture Padre Pio's sense of humor, which was very developed. He would laugh, he would joke, he would tell funny stories, he smiled all the time. In fact, at dinner with Padre Pio at the table, when Padre Pio wasn't eating anything, he was often telling such funny stories that the other people at the table, the other priests and all the guests, they couldn't even eat because they were laughing so hard.
So his sense of humor really shines through. He was definitely another laughing saint.
Again, it's really hard not to go on and on about this book. We don't want to give away all the cool stuff in it. We could really talk about it all day. But here at the end, we will leave you with one piece of prayer advice that Joe received from Padre Pio himself.
So Joe knew that Padre Pio always prayed to the Holy Family first, but one day he asked him, "Who do you pray to after that?"
And Padre Pio said, well, after the Holy Family, you should definitely pray to your patron saint first, and then others of your choice.
So there you have it, right from Padre Pio, pray to your patron saint first. So it does make you wonder, is that confirmation saint or like saint you were named after?
It could mean either, both, but we should definitely ask Padre Pio to clarify that for us. I feel like after reading this book, I have no doubt that Padre Pio will definitely get that information to us.
So overall, we would highly recommend this book, The Soldier and the Saint. It tells such a great story, and it even includes over 50 pictures of Joe, Padre Pio, their families, different soldiers, and all kinds of other people.
So we think this one would make a great confirmation gift for anyone taking the name Padre Pio. It would also be a great gift for anyone who just has a really strong devotion to Padre Pio. They should add this to their library.
And just as a heads up, this book isn't available online, but we will have all the information you need to know to order it down in the description box.
So thank you to Mr. Konvolinka for putting this all together and bringing it to our attention. We enjoyed it so much. We are so sad that we never met Joe. We feel like we almost know him after reading this book.
And Padre Pio, this was a great behind-the-scenes look at just what an amazing person he was.
So we hope you enjoyed the video. Let us know down in the comments if you've seen this book or if you've read it, or just if you have a devotion to Padre Pio if you're a fan.
So thank you so much for watching. Padre Pio, pray for us, and we'll see you next time. Bye.